Hello everyone. By equipping Disorienting grenades in Liar's Handshake, we can synthesize the effects of Assassin's Cowl and become an invincible, hard-hitting brawler that takes no prisoners. Let's examine this Frankenstein of a build. Liar's Handshake comes with the perk Cross Counter. Using your arc melee ability or being hit by a melee attack will allow you to follow up with an extremely powerful melee counterpunch that will heal you. With this perk, we'll be dealing 200% increased melee damage and getting healed after each kill. When we combine it with our abilities Gambler's Dodge and Combination Blow, we can chain devastating melee strikes that very few foes can survive. The only downside is having to maintain close proximity to enemies and risk getting stomped into oblivion. Assassin's Cowl has an advantage in this scenario because it makes you invincible. With its perk Vanishing Execution, our powered melee final blows grant invincibility and restore a portion of our health and shields. So we want to take the invulnerability that Assassin's Cowl provides and attach it to Liar's Handshake. And a great way to do that is with Disorienting grenades. Disorienting grenades incapacitate enemies and they stop firing at you. The grenade launcher Pardon Our Dust is perfect for this build, and it's a craftable weapon. You can obtain it from the activity Dares of Eternity. The only essential perk to have is Disorienting grenades, but I'd recommend crafting one with auto-loading holster in the third column if you can. Hitting enemies with a Disorienting grenade from Pardon Our Dust, then decimating them with a whirlwind of punches and walking off unscathed, it's what brings this build to life. Anytime you can outmaneuver your enemies, you know you're playing Hunter right. For our second exotic, we have Centrifuse. Centrifuse comes with the perk Overcharge Capacitor. Sprinting, sliding, and firing this weapon builds a temporary electrostatic charge, increasing range and reload speed. Final blows with high charge cause explosions, and maximum charge explosions blind targets. These blinding explosions are a decent size, but not as effective as Disorienting grenades. We are mainly using Centrifuse for dealing range damage and arc synergy with our build. Centrifuse's catalyst makes it even faster to get these blinding explosions and eliminates the need to sprint for maximum charge. While amplified, this weapon gradually gains overcharge. Centrifuse also comes with the perk Regenerative Motion. Sprinting gradually reloads this weapon. Not directly beneficial to blinding targets, but reduces time wasted reloading your weapon. Time you can use instead surveying the battlefield and choosing your next target. Let us proceed to the subclass section of this build. For our class ability, we have Gambler's Dodge. Dodge to perform a death tumble avoiding enemy attacks. Dodging near enemies fully recharges your melee ability. Gambler's Dodge is essential for this build. It is what fuels our melee ability and empowers it with other perks that we'll get to later. For our melee ability, we're using Combination Blow. A quick strike that temporarily increases your melee damage when defeating a target, stacking 3 times. Defeating targets with this ability also fully refills your class ability energy and restores a small amount of health. These two abilities create a gameplay loop of dodging, punching, until you run out of things to punch. Also, with 3 stacks of Combination Blow and Cross Counter, we will be dealing some serious damage while getting healed after each kill. For our grenade, we have Pulse Grenades, a grenade that periodically damages targets within its explosion radius. We could run Blinding Grenades, but I found that Disorienting grenades were enough to continually blind targets. Instead, our grenade will be used purely for damage and jolting targets. More on that in a bit. Our first aspect is Lethal Current. After dodging, your next melee attack has increased lunge range, jolts the target, and creates a damaging aftershock. Damaging any jolted target with melee attacks also blinds them. With this aspect, we will be jolting targets constantly and spreading the damage of our melees to larger groups of enemies. The second aspect we have is Flow State. Defeating a jolted target makes you amplified. While you are amplified, your dodge recharges more quickly, you are more resilient while dodging, and your reload speed is greatly increased. Having that increased resilience while dodging is extremely helpful, especially in higher difficulty content. The fragments we have, Spark of Feedback. Taking melee damage briefly increases your outgoing melee damage. Being so close to enemies, we will inevitably take melee damage, and with this fragment, we'll return the favor. This also stacks with Cross Counter for even more damage. Spark of Haste. You have greatly increased resilience, recovery, and mobility while sprinting. This fragment will help us when we need to fall back and reposition. Spark of Shock. Your arc grenades jolt targets. This fragment will let us spread even more damage with our grenades and trigger Flow State after defeating targets jolted by our grenades. Spark of Resistance. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. This one is necessary for any arc melee build. With this build, we will be continually jumping in and out of groups of enemies, and that increased resistance is vital. Finally, for our super, we have Gathering Storm. Hurl your arc staff forward, embedding it into surfaces or large targets and jolting nearby targets. After a brief time, a devastating lightning bolt strikes the staff, overcharging it with arc energy. While overcharged, your staff discharges lightning at nearby foes. This is arguably one of the best burst damage supers in the game, and we'll use it. Armor mods. For Orbs of Power, we are running Heavy-Handed, Reaper, and Harmonic Siphon. For our ability energy, we are using Hands-On, Impact Induction, and Bomber mods. For health and resistance, we have Recuperation and Melee Damage Resistant mods. Finally, 2 Arc Weapon Surge mods to give our Arc Weapons a 17% damage buff whenever we have an armor charge. Artifact mods. These artifact mods aren't essential for the build. They're more like a cherry on top. I'd say Monochromatic Maestro would be the only one with any synergy. Dealing elemental ability damage increases matching weapon damage, and elemental weapon damage increases matching ability damage. Bonus granted is 10% for 5 seconds. Finally, for heavy weapons, I'd recommend anything with range like a linear fusion rifle or a machine gun. That will help round out the build. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more videos. Until next time.